Closer, louder, higher. Okay, there we go. We're going to be doing off the phone. So, I've been around a whole long time and never got famous. So that's pretty much it. I've been in a lot of journals since the 80s. Google me. If you like the poems, I am on TikTok for as long as the government allows that to happen. At Shot of Rye, W-R-Y, so it's S-H-O-T-O-F-W-R-Y. Anyway, I'm going to read some things old and new. They don't really follow a theme, but I guess we'll get to know each other through these somehow. This is called The Button. I was living alone and drinking hard. I had a studio apartment and a desk job that I was barely managing to keep. For work, I had one pair of pants and two shirts that I alternated throughout the week and washed on the weekend. One day in the men's room at work, my pants button popped off, so I put it in my pocket, zipped up as best I could, tightened my belt, and walked back to my desk. When everyone had gone to lunch, I grabbed a stapler and stapled my pants shut. When I got home, I popped the staple out, changed clothes, and went out to get drunk. The next morning, I'd forgotten all about the button, and when I looked in my pocket, it was gone. Plus, I couldn't sew and didn't have a needle or thread. So I grabbed a stapler from my desk and stapled my pants shut. Things went on like that for about 6 months. Each weekday, I'd get up, treat my hangover, dress, staple my pants together, and go to work. Nobody seems to notice. Maybe their clothes were held together by office supplies too. I never asked. That summer I lost the job and came home and threw away the pants. A month later I moved out. I never did find that goddamn button. Applause or not, there. Finger snaps were not required. Okay, here we go. This is called The War. I used to watch my grandfather on Saturday afternoons as he sat drinking out behind the house he built. I didn't know that what he was drinking was the war, and that what poured out of his skin when he would sweat to saw a board in two was the war, and that when he slapped my grandmother, it was the war that moved his hand, and that when he drove his car into the guardrail, that was the war. Those sparks, that grinding metal, were the war. And the metal he smuggled home in his legs was the war. And the sound that came from his throat at night was the war. And when he pushed his beard toward me and said, "Here, kid, take a swig," that was the war talking. The war he was tired of fighting alone. This one is called You Can't Unring a Dead Horse. Think outside the elephant in the room. Remember when we were lighthouses, you could still put the cart before the wishing well? There's a reason it's bad luck to light 3 scapegoats on the same match, and why the early bird always catches the worm. The fresh ball of wax is nothing written in spilled milk, but don't throw it down the stairs or build a ladder to the towel. Remember, it's not over till the goose is on the other foot. Don't worry about that one. No one gets that one. It's all good. This is roll call. Oh, come on now, dude. We're not playing, are we? Yeah, okay. Roll call. It was hot, even at night. I walked into a little place off Bourbon Street and took a seat at the bar. It was nearly empty, the way I liked it, with a ceiling fan stirring the milky breeze. The bartender made me for a tourist on site. "How are you enjoying your vacation?" he asked. "Oh, very much," I said. "I'm on my honeymoon." He looked up and down the bar. "Oh," I said, "she won't be joining us." "No?" he asked. "Oh, she's back at the hotel," I said, making long-distance phone calls to her friends. "So your bride is there," said the bartender, "and you are here." Yes, I said, and with that established, ordered a double. You can applaud my bad marriages. Yeah, okay. This is the fish. I'm going to try this one. The people in my head are talking, sorry. The fish. After 5 years of lawyers and visits from the sheriff, we lost the house. There was nothing to do but accept it. We started packing our things into boxes I'd bring home each day from the liquor store. When they were done, we remembered the goldfish, 2 flickers of brainless light like pennies on a wishing well. Our child had won them at a carnival, and I couldn't bear flushing them. The creek would freeze in winter, so we drove around one night to the wealthy part of town looking for a nice koi pond where they could live out their days. We knocked on the door of a large house with a heated pond, alive with orange and white fish. A woman answered. She was very kind, explained she couldn't have strange fish in her pond. Later we found another house with a pond nearly as large as the first. There were no lights on and no cars in the driveway. Later we came back with our fish in a plastic bag. We parked in the dark. I remembered how during the Depression my grandparents had lost their house. My grandfather had put the cats in a burlap bag with a brick and tossed them in the lake. I looked into the bag at the fish. Well, I thought, at least they won't drown. Then I got out, crossed the lawn, and poured them into the pond. All right, we're getting there, man. I am not a morning person. I wake to the sound of 2 deadlines clapping and the holly tree aflutter with complaints. A shadow-dressed hat to heel in black stands within a closet of light, then shuts the door. I walk to the bathroom mirror to be sure I still have a face and that it is unaltered, except by the creases and folds of the night's uneasy sleep. My remaining teeth I brush with mea culpas. With a red crayon, I draw the day's first breath. The good news is they get shorter as we go along. All right, this is the suitcase. Buy a suitcase from a stranger. Let the stories fly out like birds. All the pitched ocean crossings and bumpy bus rides now nesting in your drapes. Let the train wheels clatter through the high desert of your hands, each a meandering tale. Like the joke told by a drunk, there will be pieces missing, perhaps a clasp or a stitch. From what remains, you construct the rest. Working from a button, you sew the shirt, and then the man. This is the temp. The steel ball clatters through the tilting maze, banging along the corridors like a drunk. Life is a game best played with the wisdom of an elder and the resilience of a child. But my key will not fit my neighbor's lock, nor my neighbor's life. Describe where you see yourself in 10 years, the application says. And in the empty space, I draw a birdcage. The boss looks at me across the ocean of her desk. You start Monday, she says. Thank you. We're getting there. This is gargoyle. I used to rent a room across from a church. Like a stone gargoyle, I'd watch the front courtyard fill up every Sunday and Wednesday. Sunday with the devout and Wednesday with the ex-drunks from the AA meeting. The churchgoers all stood around whispering because they feared going to hell. And the ex-drunks stood around laughing because they'd survived it. All right. We're moving now. My mom had severe Alzheimer's toward the end of her life. Progressive, debilitating, did not remember who I was by the end of her life. This is kind of about that. It's called The Road to Hell is Right Twice a Day. For a decade, I watched my mother's mind turn to cream of amnesia soup. When she lost her license, I drove her to doctor after doctor. "Where are we going today?" she'd ask. "Dr. Modell," I'd say, only to have her repeat the question a moment later. And there were always new drugs to try, new pills to remember. "Mom, you take the blue one now and the yellow one at bedtime." We made up a chart and devised a system to help her remember her meds. Some evenings she'd phone to ask whether the sun was setting or rising, or whether her parents were living or dead. I kept waiting for word from Dad, but she never heard, or if she did, never said. Thank you. We'll do this one. It's another postcard poem. "Dear Mom, the documentary is going great. Thanks again for the trauma. It still tastes fresh if I cut off the skin. There's so much I tell you if only you had a mirror or a heart to steer it by. But I want you to know I saw you. Each time you brought down your hand, you brought down your face." Okay. 2 or 3 more. You're doing great. Take a drink or something. Like, really. Just... Okay. Ostentations. It's called Ostentations. "My family has decided to watch every version of Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice that Time and Hulu will allow. So I put in my earbuds and hook into a loop of acid trance music designed to chase the crows from my mind. The combined effect is a fugue state, my consciousness wired together like a broken doll and trapezing between worlds. Each time I open my eyes, I'm greeted by a new Mr. Darcy, a new Elizabeth, or gaggles of Bennet sisters falling in and out of love with various Bingleys and Wickhams. Their faces float by quicker than card tricks, pale as moths. Time slows. In the distance, a hanged man dances the candies from his pockets." Well, y'all made it to the last one.
Nice.
Okay. This is called The Wallet. Thank you again for having me, Bob. Thank you guys for coming out tonight. Sunday's a hard night to get a crowd out, so I appreciate it. This is The Wallet. It's a quiet night at the bar where a guy spends half an hour telling me how to make a wallet from 2 human ears. He speaks with calm authority on each phase of the process. The stitching, he says, is very important if you want the thing to last. When it is done, I ask him, "Where do you get human ears?" but cannot make out his reply. Thank you very much.